What's up, motherfuckers? Welcome back to High Crime, a show where I take an edible and get very high and talk about a fucked up serial killer. But wait, today's a little bit different. I am going to be having a very, very special guest. But first, let's get fucking blazed. So I'm trying to be on my best behavior. So I'm going to take something that I'm used to. Just the classic Kiva Camino sparkling pear. These are my favorites. Bye. Alright guys, see you so soon.
Right. Fuck yeah. Okay. What's the weed equivalent of saying in your cups?
Just stones. You just say like, hi guys. Welcome back. So today we have a very, very special guest. We're actually going to learn stuff today, you guys. We're going to learn things.
I always learn.
Yeah, you know, about fucked up shit. Now we're going to learn about more fucked up shit.
Yep.
Guys, this is Mackenzie. She is a fancy adult job having lawyer. Mackenzie, my first question. Do you think you're better than me and why?
I think the fact that I don't smoke weed is enough for Nixon to put me higher on the totem pole. So really, who else's opinion matters?
The Nixon totem pole is such a good method of measurement.
I'm very pro weed. I just get really tired and hungry. And I'm already that all the time.
Yeah.
So that's my qualifier.
That's fair. I don't know why I want to maximize the two things in my life that are the
it's
worst
healthy to want
my laziness and my overeating. And for some reason I'm like, let's make that more.
So yeah, I'm Mackenzie, and thank you so much for having me on your show. I am a lawyer. I'm currently counsel to one of the chief judges of the state of New York. That's how I'll keep it at arm's length and not name any names. I used to be a teaching assistant for constitutional law and criminal law, so I do have some special whatever in that field too. I have a podcast called Exceedingly Persuasive, so check that out. We talk about more
Very
law
good.
and policy shit.
Well, I work at a bar, so thanks for being here. I wanted to have Mackenzie on, you guys, because every week my privileged ass sits here and smokes on camera or eats an edible on camera, and I'm not in jail. And there are many, many people who are still in prison for marijuana charges, and I wanted to fucking talk about it.
Yeah, so like high crimes, we're gonna get very technically into why it is a crime to be high. Honestly, today I feel like we're not gonna touch the criminal justice piece of it, because I think that probably deserves a separate episode about like how many folks are still incarcerated. But what we're gonna do today is this is kind of inspired by Sha'Carri Richardson, even though that's not a US illegality thing. It's more like private sports agency. So not a lot.
But still, it's this like I can't believe it's still a problem for someone.
And that's, like if it were legal in a federal sense in this country, I'm sure that sort of policy would exist so much less. So So that's why we wanted to talk about it today, because, you know, the Olympics have highlighted a lot of discrepancies in social equity and stuff like that. We're going to get into the nitty gritty of Nixon, Reagan,
all daddy
characters, really equivalent to the type of person that you usually talk about on this show.
Absolutely a fucking psychopath.
Yep.
God only knows what I'd be without you.
How many of our presidents have been diagnosed psychopaths?
Well, the diagnosis is really where you get the problem, because I'm sure a lot of them have the privilege to avoid that.
I feel like there were some psychiatrists who were like, yeah, he's this. He's very much this. And people were like, nah, he's a president. He can't be a narcissist. That is the best job to have if you're a narcissist. I'm a narcissist. I am a very proud narcissist.
We all are to different.
But we don't claim Trump. We don't claim, like, you know.
He's not one of us.
Yeah, he's not one of us. He's different. He cannot sit with us.
Lila and I know each other from way back. Our moms met in a book club when we were in, like, preschool.
Was it a book club?
It was a book club.
Oh, we've known each other since we were 5, right?
Something like that, yeah.
He's consistently been, since I was 5, like, the smartest person I know. Like, since we were young. Just
Oh,
always like she was always learning.
thank you so much. That means a ton.
I mean it. Thank you for coming onto my show and blessing us with your presence.
You quit it. Now I'm all flushed. Let's start with Nixon.
Let's fucking go. Let's get into Nixon.
So I'm going to set you up because I think that being the performer in the bunch, you should read off some of his quotes. But
okay.
I'll set the stage by saying that marijuana criminalization in this country, even though obviously the substance has been around forever, in like the 30s, they started to tax and like fine certain amounts, but there was never anything like what we have today until Nixon in the early 70s, because he noticed that a lot of his opponents, a lot of factions of liberals and minorities, anti-war folks, were smoking weed, and that they really liked that. So he didn't like that, and he made it a crusade. So do you want to read some of the things that he said about weed smokers? And
I would love to.
So these actually came from, this is great because they came from some of the Watergate tapes. It was in the process of getting him on something else. He was recorded saying a lot of things about a lot of groups of people. He hated a lot of, really everybody who wasn't Nixon was on the chopping block.
Okay, great. So I'm going to do my best Nixon.
Oh God, yes.
This is on Jews and marijuana. I see another...
I thought I was with Richard Nixon.
This is it. It's this, and it's also, it sounds a lot like Bernie Sanders. So I'm just gonna
do like a jowl shake it. You don't have enough jowl.
Okay, I'm just gonna read it because it's too distracting. I don't want you to get confused between me and Nixon. I see another thing in the news summary this morning about it. That's a funny thing. Every one of the bastards that are out for legalizing marijuana is Jewish. What the Christ is the matter with the Jews, Bob? What is the matter with them? I suppose it's because most of them are psychiatrists. Wow, okay. Cool. This is marijuana and the culture wars. Homosexuality, dope, immorality in general. These are the enemies of strong societies. That's why the communists and the left-wingers are pushing this stuff. They're trying to destroy us. He's so dramatic!
Because you can see, you know, that process of like, you tell yourself a lie so many times that you start to believe it's true. You can see like the arc from him deciding that it's bad because his opponents like it, to now he's actually believing that it is creating this leftist evil society. He went a little beyond just the tapes, though. He did a lot of fucking damage. The Controlled Substances Act, which is still the basis for all our federal, it regulates all substances, all like illicit drugs, et cetera, et cetera. That is still our basis. It's where we get the schedule ranking. Going back to the creation of the CSA, he got it passed. Nixon got it passed. Then through Nixon, there was this commission called the Schaefer Commission that was set up to investigate whether marijuana should be put in this super high risk category, which is Schedule 1. It's where heroin is, it's where the most dangerous health risks, the most addictive, that sort of thing. That's where they go. Marijuana was put there. The Schaefer Commission looks into it. And even back in the early 70s, they find evidence that, number one, it's not that risky. It doesn't deserve to be in the category with heroin and cocaine. Number two, there are already like decent evidence of medical benefits coming out of it. So Schaefer Commission goes back to Nixon with this report that says, don't put marijuana in this category. And Nixon just squarely rejects the report, keeps marijuana Schedule 1, and that's where it has lived ever since.
Wow, he sucks.
You are dumb, unattractive, overweight.
He sucks.
He really did some lasting damage. And then we got to give Reagan honorable mention.
I was gonna say, like, when you think of war on drugs, you think of Reagan.
Yeah,
I didn't know that Nixon sucked even more.
I tend to blame Reagan for a lot of stuff, as I rightly should, because he really initiated a lot of the modern shittiness that still haunts our society. But Nixon really did this one in. Reagan, we will give him credit for the war on drugs rhetoric. So a lot of like the real criminal sanctions, actually putting this into the court system and into the police level that it occupies today. He also, I think it was under his administration that you get the real gateway drug myth.
First it's weed, then it's meth. And honestly, so true.
You're doing crocodile.
Oh my God, I love crocodile.
I know. See, and that's
half my face melted off. This is fake.
Because you ate it. That's great.
I hate my own fucking face. I fucking hate the gateway drug myth. It is so...
Can we just debunk that here to get it done now?
Yeah, let's debunk it.
I did some research just to make sure. I mean, like, obviously we all know, a lot of us in the know that this is not real. It's a lot of that, like, falsity of correlation, not equaling causation. So the reason that a lot of people see it or argue that it can be seen as a gateway drug is that if you look at a lot of people who are on more dangerous illicit substances or abuse drugs, they did marijuana first. But in that sense, more of them drank alcohol. So if you're going to make that argument, my first point is that call alcohol the gateway drug, because that's the more accurate one. Right. Number two, though, is the real correlation not equaling causation piece, that there is overwhelming evidence that the vast majority, according to the CDC, of people who use marijuana at any point, whether it be consistent, once, whatever, the vast majority do not go on to use heavier. So,
any further. It's just, my thing is that it's just consistently and constantly proven that this is not a harmful substance.
Yeah.
And that it just, people use it as some sort of, like, they politicize it. And it's so frustrating. So it's like, it's helped so many people. It's helped me so much. Clearly, I'm benefiting greatly from it.
What do people think it does? Do you know? This might just be us ruminating on, like, what is this phantom, whatever. So we got rid of the gateway drug rumor.
Well, do you remember that ad that's like, fucking, what was it? It was like
Brain on Drugs
person. Yeah, it's like, this is your, yeah, I don't remember, but she was just like flattened and like, we don't like Sarah after she did drugs or something like that. And she was just like flat and like just a slug. And I think that's what people's fears are, is that it's like this. They also, I think they think it's a psychedelic.
My craziest time smoking weed was I like woke up in the middle of the night and drank a whole quart of chocolate milk that was in the fridge.
That sounds right.
But yeah, I always wonder, because I know of enough folks who either used to be on the criminalized anti whatever version of that side. A lot of the people in like our parents' generation who were on that side, I found, have come around. But even when they weren't, like, migrating over, I don't really understand what the full demon was.
And my mom, you know, she's a teacher now, so she's like, I can't do it.
Yeah, I know.
It's crazy.
That's also part of why, I mean, I'm coming on your show, High Crimes, and I should at least, like, be a good guest and partake, but that was a big piece of it, that it is still federally illegal. Now, in the state that I'm in right now, New York, we have recently decided that we're decriminalizing, and I think in the city a while ago, they decided that they're not even going to make arrests anymore, so that's great.
Yeah.
People are coming around, but because federal law still outlaws it, it's kind of a weird place as a lawyer to be.
You're like right in the middle. Right. Just almost, it's almost okay.
So maybe this is a good segue into, like, what the fuck is going on with that.
Yeah. Can you please get into that? Because you tried to explain it to me, and
my beers. And
then combine the beers.
No man left behind.
Yeah, bro. Let's fucking get it.
So
thank you, Trader Joe's. Sponsor us.
Michelob Ultra, not Trader Joe's brand.
The champagne of beers.
This is mom beer.
It's great. It's mom at a pool party barbecue.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Loosening up. She had 3 Michelob Ultras that night.
Oh, Mom.
3. And she's going crazy.
She took her bra off.
Oh my God. Here comes the Stevie Nicks. She's putting it on. Everyone watch out.
So I'm gonna try to explain this. I put Lila through the ringer, trying to make this concise and interpretable, even when she
and I am not smart.
I'm gonna try to distill it, and you stop me if and when it gets out of hand. Not to go full, like, since the dawn of time, but our Constitution establishes a federalist system. So we divide the powers of different governmental shit between the federal government, which is like the national Congress. So you got House of Representatives, Senate, it's the president is that branch, all that good stuff. That's federal. Then other powers are delegated in the Constitution to the state governments. And so a lot of those are listed, but obviously in the Constitution, they didn't want to list everything out so strictly because we're planning for centuries of progress and different needs. So they kind of put these amorphous definitions in, with the only caveat being that, like, if they ever overlap, if federal and state both have power, federal wins. So that's where we're starting. The Constitution lists these things out, but the definitions are pretty amorphous. So a lot of Supreme Court cases about like contesting laws comes down to how you define these different powers and if this specific law falls in a state power category or a federal category. Mm-hmm. So
you are done.
One that pertains to marijuana, or the one that most importantly does, was in this case that came before a very conservative Supreme Court, pretty conservative, not as conservative as it is now. But the federal government was trying to keep California from making weed legal, just medical marijuana at the time. This is back in like the early 2000s. So the only way that the federal government could make reaching into California to stop weed legalization work under their constitutional powers was to say that it was part of regulating interstate commerce. Mm-hmm. So I'll pause there. Are you kind of with me so far?
Listen, Mackenzie, I'm very high. So I am going to be honest with you a little bit. I'm on track, but just keep talking and I'll pause.
That's as much as I can ask for. That's great.
But so far, I'm not completely confused.
You are done.
That's great. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. So Congress, federal government has the power in Article 1 to regulate interstate commerce. So one of those really amorphous definitions. What the hell is interstate commerce? They have made it apply to a whole bunch of stuff like wheat sales across borders. One thing that they said it didn't apply to was the Violence Against Women Act, because apparently women don't travel or like work across state lines or try to move across state lines. So like,
that's bullshit.
Same court that said that this should be regulated though. So you see how the conservative court kind of makes a difference. It's, yeah.
Okay, let's not even get into how many conservatives I want to harm.
And this isn't even the current court. Like it's so much worse now.
I'm just fueled by conservative tears.
Honestly, they're gonna be few and far between court-wise these days. But like, I will at least make that into a plug of, I don't want to hear any of this like lesser evilism about presidential elections from anybody, because there's too much on the line, and that's how you get shit like this. That's how you get marijuana regulation. It's how you get no violence against women protections. So anyways, so
get it, girl.
This is an intra, so like totally within the state of California law, but the Supreme Court sides with the federal government and says, no, it is so likely that the weed sold in California intrastate is going to be eventually sold interstate, probably. So yeah, this totally within the state thing, it's an interstate commerce issue. So regulate away. So that left the federal government with the power to keep preventing states from legalizing marijuana until the Obama administration, I think, when they kind of decided to like start looking the other way. Mm-hmm. So it's not an official change in the law, and they can't. They're just doing that and like seeing what happens. That's where we are now. But it sucks.
That's
because
how I live my life, is I go, and then I see what happens.
I mean, it's great if it works, except there are some drawbacks, like me not really being sure if I can do stuff. Right. My mom having a good excuse as a federal employee to be like, I never want to try it because what if work finds out?
It is an excuse, isn't it? Our moms won't do it because they're just being little bitches.
They're being little bitches. Like, come on.
Bitches.
So I want to call her on it.
Yeah, we should call our moms right now and tell them they're doing pussy ass bitches. Hey mom, why you smoke weed? Fuck you.
Yeah, come on, mom. Oh, and then the biggest one that actually, it's kind of a catch-22, because for like any sort of medical studies or clinical trials to get approval, they have to like jump through hoops with federal organizations like the FDA, the DEA, which is the Drug Enforcement Agency. There are like different things that studies have to get approved by that are federal agencies. So if federal agencies are still saying that this is a Schedule 1, worst of the worst, illegal substance, that means that we don't get better growing evidence about how not dangerous it is and how medically beneficial it is. So there's less evidence to present to the government to make them legalize it. So it really is a catch-22 in that sense, unless the feds decide to just like stop putting money into enforcing this nonsense thing.
Have people tried saying stop?
That's a great question in an official sense, because beyond like everyone, I feel like it's pretty much a bipartisan thing in a lot of cases now too, right?
Don't ask me a smart question.
No, I don't even, it's more like, is anybody actually anti-marijuana in any, I mean, I guess, yeah, they probably are. Because like Arizona is usually pretty red. Obviously they went blue last election and there's a lot of voter suppression, but they are fully recreationally legalized now.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good to know.
Yeah. And like a lot of the baby boomer conservative whatevers who used to be gung-ho are noticing that it like helps their osteoporosis, and
they can eat. They they can put CBD on their joints. Isn't that crazy?
I love that shit. Yeah. And it's actually a really great, I mean, especially when you look at the opioid crisis and other means of pain management that are not super safe, like opioids. This is a great idea. And it does have a lot of medical uses. Neither of us are healthcare professionals, but it's well documented. Look it up. I don't know.
Okay, so back to interstate commerce.
That's where we are now, is that like the federal government still has the power to regulate it if they want, even if they reach into states, but they have chosen out of the goodness of their heart to stop enforcing it, even though they have not had good enough hearts to fully legalize it.
Just sign a little document. Just sign it and go, it's fine now. That's what it says, that it's fine now. Stamp of approval. Send it on its way. So easy to do. I should be president. Look how easy it is.
Since the Controlled Substances Act, I think that was like congressional legislation. Even though Nixon drafted it, I think it like was Congress. So it kind of sucks, but Biden, I don't think could just like unilaterally do it. I think it would have to be a both houses thing.
Isn't he also really he was super anti.
He was, but
now he's like come around to it, or maybe
boomer class that I think.
Right, exactly. I think that's probably like he needed the younger vote, and he's like, I love to smoke weed.
Or
Uncle
even
Bill
like
smokes all the time.
I think a lot of people grew up hearing the kind of shit that we were talking about, like 70s parents saying, like strict 70s parents being like, this is the devil, because that's what they heard. And it took a while for people to get the right information. So
a long time still.
Yeah. So kudos.
Yeah, I think they like maybe they put it on the same pedestal as like mushrooms or acid or something.
Because it's in that category.
In the same, it distorts your mind. Like it messes with you, like any drug does. But like alcohol, I think, and they're not the same at all. Like I will never do acid. That's not on my list of things to do. No fucking thank you. But weed helps me from like my day-to-day anxiety.
They're really different. And I do think that kind of like you were saying with those like the DARE anti-drug ads and stuff, I feel like it's really misleading, and it's kind of risky too, because if you put everything in the same category, which the legislation literally does, it puts it in the same category as heroin, which here is a medical stat that I do know that it is not you can't overdose on it. You cannot die from weed consumption.
You can die from like getting in a car.
You can die secondarily. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
like you can if you're tired. Yeah.
Right, exactly. But you can't die from smoking too much or eating too much. You may feel like it. You may start having a panic attack.
Yeah.
It's happened and it's not fun, but you're not going to die. It's not.
Which, like, you can die from alcohol poisoning. So.
Yeah, you can die from cirrhosis of the liver. You can die, from alcohol poisoning.
Immediately, yeah. Like,
your body rots away. Like, it's a poison. Alcohol is a poison.
And here's a policy-based argument that I would say for it, because I know a lot of folks are like, well, but alcohol is dangerous too, but we already have like a system in place to look at driving and whatnot. And yeah, like any new thing, when we legalize marijuana fully on a federal level, there are going to be a lot of things to grapple with. I know that the states that have legalized it are struggling a little bit with like this really capitalist privilege enforcing system where like these white boy startups can take over the boutique market. So that's an issue. I've heard some folks talk about like driving enforcement, like how do we control for that? I haven't seen a lot of like actual stats of these states are falling apart because people are getting on the roads out of their mind or anything. That's a good indication that at least it's manageable. I mean, Canada legalized in 2018 and they're surviving. It's probably going to
some people who I've talked to who are like, I'm so much of a better driver when I'm high.
That too.
Don't ever get in a car high, you guys. Never.
Yeah, this is not an endorsement of that.
Don't do it. And I am
a different animal than drinking.
I can't drive when I'm even a little bit anything.
You are dumb.
Mm-hmm.
That's me. Don't do it. But like so many people have been like, I'm a much better driver when I'm high.
So it may be different.
You're so conscious. You're like so aware now and so paranoid that you're like 10 and 2ing it like the whole time.
Yeah, I can see that. Don't endorse it, but like, yeah, that it might not be, if again, we're comparing it to something that is legal, but not legal to drive, that it might be less of a risk than that, potentially.
Yeah.
But the greater like conceptual rationale is that we want to have some equity in what is legal and illegal, and you know, that's good for social stuff and it's good for people respecting the law. Like if something that is less dangerous than alcohol is kept illegal just because we don't have a system yet, that's not a great reason to have a law.
Sounds like you're just being lazy now.
Yeah, essentially.
Fucking make a system, dog.
No progress because we don't know how yet.
Yeah. I don't know how. I can't do it. That sounds like every kid who's like, every 5th grade kid who's like, I can't do my homework. It's too hard.
Talk about laziness. I mean,
exactly.
Come on. The other thing that I at least want to say is that like we don't want to minimize that there is some, even though we should make it legal so we can research more, but the CDC does mention that it's more habit forming for people under 18, like 1 in 6 who use it under 18 form a habit, more like 1 in 10 over 18. It's not addictive in the same way that like cigarettes are, but you know, habit dependence, whatever.
Is it like not the marijuana itself that's addictive, but isn't it like the act of doing it?
That's the impression.
Like muscle memory almost, because it kind of is for me too. Sometimes it'll be like 6 p.m. and my mouth will just go, or my hand will go like this to my mouth with my pen. And I'm like, I can't help it. I'm doing this.
So I'd probably put it like one notch above muscle memory, because there's probably a bit of like a psychological dependence beyond just the physical action, that there's like kind of like same ideas with drinking. It's not inherently like you become addicted as quickly as you do with cigarettes. But if it's like, I cannot unwind without this, that's kind of a dependent.
If you're using it to cope, that's when I would say that's addictive.
Without it, then that's
no addictive properties in marijuana, but the addiction to like the feeling of being
there's a dependence on the feeling,
and so it's like muscle memory with that feeling, and then I think it's a
I think that's the best way.
I'm definitely addicted to it, but like not in a way that Like, I could quit. I could quit at any time, man.
Well, I mean, it's such a weird concept anyways, because it's like, all right, well, I can't get off my antidepressants cold turkey.
Right.
So at what point are we saying that that is like okay to use one substance and be semi-dependent if it helps? Like it's all about the positives and negatives. So
you guys don't want to see me without my pills or my okay. Yeah. So for the best thing to do for our country is to legalize it.
It is a whole different ballgame if you're under 18. It can mess with your brain development a little bit. So yeah, don't.
I think that this is my theory that people from like 18 to 25 should be just put in a room somewhere and not have have all decisions made for them.
And also like not have to interact with other people who are not 18 to 25. Like
it's like from 17, maybe 18 to 25 for me, I was a living, breathing nightmare. Just the worst. Just the worst.
And your brain can't do it. Like your brain
can't. So let's put all of them in a room somewhere. Nice. It's padded. It's nice. It sounds like an insane asylum. But it's not. You're dead and
your brain isn't done.
Yeah, your brain is not fully formed. Yeah. Then start doing, whatever you want to do.
Then you can vote, and then you can drink, and then you can drive.
And you can try and find the person you want to be with. Not when you're 21. I'm in love with him. You're like,
no, you're not. You're just
high. You don't like him.
You're 15 and you're horny.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what we have to say about weed.
That's it. So now this is a segment we like to call Uncle Facebook. We're going to address some comments that your conservative conspiracy theory uncle might make.
Well, I'm running down the road trying to loosen my load. I got 7 women on my mind.
So first one is, does weed make you gay? Yes, it does. Moving on.
Evidence.
Yeah. I smoke a ton of weed, now I eat a ton of pussy. So that's how that
coincidence, I think not.
The pot these days is so much stronger than when I was a kid. Yeah, yes it is, ya bitch. My mom has said that so many times. She's like, it's just so much stronger than it was when I was a kid.
Is that actually, it's actually true?
It is. I think it is actually a little bit stronger, a little bit more like concentrated. I don't really know. But the good thing is, then you smoke less of it.
Yeah, which is good for your lungs.
Yeah, and you're not just like consuming this like random like one strain and you're like, I don't know how high this is gonna make me. You're like, oh, this is sativa. I can only smoke so much of this one. So it's like, it's way more controlled now, which is great. Here's my favorite one. Marijuana was created by the Hollywood Jews to turn everyone gay.
I wonder who came up with that one. Is it Tricky Dick again?
I don't know. Yeah, he's come back from, what if Nixon never died and he just like, now he's just your uncle on Facebook.
I mean, in a conceptual sense, it's kind of true. And that is the gift that they gave all of us.
Whoa.
Same with Reagan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Weird. I'm too high for this. Yikes. Right now, I'm hallucinating Nixon's face right here. And we're so close to kissing. We're like touching Nixon.
Don't do it. He'll punch you.
I won't. I'm too good. Stop, Nixon. Don't. Do you have any that you wanted to?
I don't on this one because like usually I have a good cache of uncle stuff. Hypothetically. Maybe I know where to look for it. But these hypothetical entities really have come around on this one issue.
Dang it. Right when we need someone to...
I know. I promise to deliver more if we touch other issues because boy, have I got a range. But,
that's the least you could do.
Yeah. One thing that like I did hear some, of course I can't put my finger on them now, but a lot of kind of shitty takes on was the Sha'Carri Richardson thing. Like, just follow the rules. I don't know.
Yeah, that where it's like, well, she should have known, like, you don't. And you were telling me that it was her mom had just died. Or something.
Yeah, so a reporter told her during a press conference, I don't think it was intentional, for this to be the way that she found out, but it was that she didn't know that her biological mom had died. And so she found out the first time in a press conference like 2 weeks before the Olympic whatever.
So let her smoke a little weed.
And that's what she said was the context. And she was in a state where it was legal too.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm very much like, who fucking gives a shit? Like, she fucking smoked them all. Like, clearly she is the best. She should be going to the Olympics. But because of some thing, she needed to, like, if that's helping you grieve, like, if that illegal substance is helping you grieve, smoke away, my friend. I also smoke weed at the most minor of inconveniences.
She is the best at something, and she suffered a hugely traumatic thing presented in the least palatable way.
So insensitive.
If you were ever told bad news and you drank, you are in the same fucking boat, except that doesn't say in your
except if she had a beer after that, she'd be running in the Olympics right now. And
so that's where like
the
illegality does kind of impact even private policy, because I can't imagine why else. It's not a performance enhancer. It is definitely not.
Oh, it sure isn't.
Yeah.
Unless the performance is lying in your bed eating pickle chips. And in that case...
Megan Rapinoe just came out with a CBD brand. And she was in the Olympics for soccer. Her current fiance is her fiance is currently competing. So I would assume that like one or both of them has probably consumed the substance, maybe proximate to the Olympics. Safe bet.
Also, it's not the Winter Olympics. There's no figure skating, so I do not care.
Oh, I like gymnastics though, because that's
that's true. Yeah,
hot weather figure skating.
I don't know. It's something about the figure skating, just like the baroqueness of it all. You know what I mean? It's just so dramatic, and you're just like sliding around and.
Do you remember we used to go ice skating when we were tiny?
Yeah, at the Coyotes ice rink. Fucking hell yeah, go Coyotes.
So that is our take on marijuana.
That's it.
Nixon rules!
Yeah, Nixon!
Nixon 2024!
Woo, yes! I fucking wish. Don't even joke, okay? He's right here. We're about to kiss.
Cross yourself. Oh, you can't because you're a Jew who wants gays and weed.
I am a Hollywood Jew.
You are literally that.
Gay.
Don't smoking Hollywood Jew.
It's your girl, a Hollywood Jew.
Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us, even though we spent way much more time than I just like totally ran with Lila's typical short episodes. So thank you, Lila.
That was perfect. They'll watch it all. Thank you so much for coming on, Mackenzie. You are
absolutely
brilliant and beautiful. And I'm so honored to have you here today. Thank you so much.
I would say right back at you if it didn't sound trite, because it's not a...
I'll take it. I'll take literally any compliment ever, so don't worry about it. Okay.
I'm gonna go watch the Olympics.
Ooh, have fun!
All right. Bye.